name is Mariam and I'm going to be a rising junior in high school. And I'm actually going to be presenting a topic similar to Juliet's. So hopefully this will answer any remaining questions that you guys have. So whenever you imagine a farm, you usually think of crops, of lines of crops and soil. But a lot of the time, crops can be completely grown out of water. And this is known as a hydroponic system. So this picture is a representation of a commercial hydroponic system in which each of the plants receives running water constantly, as well as nutrients in the water to ensure that they can grow properly. So I wanted to create my own hydroponic system in order to get a better understanding of how it works. So I created this design. The first thing I did to make this design a reality is I got one long piece of PVC pipe and I cut it down into 2.5 feet pieces. Then I drilled 3-inch holes into each of the pipes. And when I was drilling the holes, I also made sure that I put a varying amount of holes for each pipe. And this was important since with a pipe with 6 holes would be suited to growing something like strawberries, which have shorter root widths, so they can be closer together. Whereas a pipe with 3 holes can accommodate something with a larger root width, such as lettuce. So that is why I decided to have different amounts of holes within each pipe. Then I got cups that would house each of the plants, and I drilled holes into the bottom so that they could provide sufficient water to the plant. Afterwards, I filled it with perlite, and perlite is a volcanic glass material, and what it does is that it provides sufficient water drainage and aeration to the roots, and it prevents things like root rot. So it's very important that it's used when using a hydroponic system in which there's no soil in order to drain the water. So you might be wondering, why exactly did I choose a design with tilted pipes? Why? So the reason for this is that hydroponic systems actually have many different techniques for growing crops completely in water. And the one that I chose to use was a nutrient film technique. And this nutrient film technique basically utilizes the tilted angle of the pipes and allows gravity to pull down water from the first pipe down to the second, to the third, and to the fourth until it reaches to the bucket of water. Then a pump is used to push the water up into the first pipe and repeat the cycle. So the reason I used a nutrient film technique is that it can be used vertically and it helps save space, as Julia earlier mentioned. And the reason uh, the reason that there's always constantly flowing water is because the nutrients in the water must always be provided to the roots. And if they were standing still in water as opposed to constantly running water, they might develop root rot, as I mentioned previously. So this is my final product. I haven't grown any plants in it yet, but hopefully within the next coming months, I will be able to. So you might be asking, why do you want a hydroponic system? Why is this any better than a conventional farming method? And this is the positives of hydroponic farming include the fact that it takes up less land. So when we watched Juliet's presentation, she talked a lot about the amount of carbon emissions and wasted space that are attributed to conventional farming methods. And with hydroponic gardens, they A, can be used vertically and reduce the amount of space needed, and they B, require oftentimes less machinery like tractors, and so they might be able to reduce carbon emissions. So those are some of the positives, as well as by requiring less land, they can be used in urban areas and provide local crops to the people living there and prevent things like food deserts from occurring. So if hydroponics are very, very good, why haven't people implemented them yet? So these are the negatives of hydroponic systems. With hydroponics, you have to supplement additional nutrients in order to grow crops. And a lot of times that means buying nitrogen or something else and adding it to the water. So this can be costly for some farms to implement. So an alternative to that is using something called an aquaponic system. And this uses fish in which the plants utilize the nitrogen from the fish's excrements as the nutrient. So there's no need for additional supplements. So that's one of the negatives of hydroponic gardens. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'm open to any questions.
That's great. Thank you very, very much. Do we have questions for Mariam? It's interesting to see both perspectives. It was a good, Juliet set you up well.
Yeah. Mariam, I wanted to say thank you so much again. That was a great presentation. I do want to know, obviously you building that, what are you anticipating on growing here in the next, days, weeks, over the months? I'm very curious.
Yeah, so different crops are suited for. So the reason you can keep it either inside or outside. I'm going to be keeping it outside, so that's why you have to keep in mind with things like summer and winter which crops are best suited. But with a lot of hydroponic gardens, what they do is they put them in a controlled environment, so they can grow things like watermelons, which are traditionally summer fruit, in something like winter. So that's one of the benefits of hydroponic systems, and it actually brings up another benefit, which is in places with with droughts, it can actually be more resilient against climate change. So that's another thing. But hopefully, I'm planning on planting some strawberries as well as some tomatoes. I'm not sure how the tomatoes will work out, but we'll see. Yeah.
Thank you.